So shout out to today's sponsor, Strong Gamers. Rob from Strong Gamers has been very kind to be sponsor for the podcast, and he's even hooked us up with a promo code, which is JUKE10 at checkout. So what I'll do is I'll jump onto their website, because I have actually done myself a basket of goodies to get delivered to my house. And what that is my favourite Perform protein, which is the chocolate brownie batter. Rain Energy, I like citrus flavours, so I've got Rain Energy Lemon HGZ, a pack of 12, and the Raise Energy Guava Mango. Guava Mango is a banging flavour. Rain and Raise have 200 and 300 milligrams of caffeine. Just as a pre-warning, that is quite a lot of caffeine if you're not a big caffeine drinker. I am, that's why I'm buying them in boxes of 12. All you need to do, I've already got it saved, JUKE10, apply a coupon. What that's going to do, you go down to your checkout, $92.97, coupon JUKE10, £9.30 in total, £83. And yeah, guys, so really easy to do. Strong Gamers has got a great website and they're a great sponsor, so please subscribe to our podcast and also go and check out Strong Gamers. Don't forget to use JUKE10 as your coupon code on checkout. A fucking shambles. Cool. So I mean, obviously me and you have been chatting for a little bit already. First thing I wanted to go through, obviously we've got Matt Weston here, GB skeleton, just been to the Olympics. So tell everyone who you are, Matt. What do you do?
I am Matt Weston. I have been racing skeleton sleds for 3 years for GB. I've been on the programme for 5 years, because they take the first 2 years to sort of teach you how to train. How to slide properly and get you basically good enough to start racing. I am from Tunbridge Wells, Crowborough, that area. I went to school in Tunbridge Wells. I grew up in Crowborough, and so I've been around like southeast this whole time. I now live in Bath because that's where the GB team train. Mm-hmm. And yeah, I've just managed to get myself to Beijing, and I've come back like probably a week and a half, 2 weeks ago now.
Nice, man.
Something like that.
You recovered all right though? Jet lag, all the rest?
Yeah, it's been pretty non-stop since I've been back because of COVID. Before, I was like, even over Christmas, I was literally in lockdown basically for me. I couldn't go and see anyone. Like, I was making people take tests before they saw me, like not only like lateral flow but like PCRs and stuff.
Yeah,
I think I had a week or a week and a half just before I came back after the last World Cup, just before I went to China, and Alex, my girlfriend, came up to see me. But I'm not gonna lie, mate, I was like kind of like so scared that I was gonna get it. So she had like 2 PCR tests and like lateral flows every time. Like, it was a nightmare. But it was basically, if you got it, you couldn't go. I think one of the top Russian athletes got it and couldn't go. So yeah, and actually the guy who won silver, he got it and came out late. I think missed one of the training days because he had it and like was waiting to test negative and
made it though.
Yeah, he made it. Well, he won silver, so imagine if he hadn't. Yeah, it was a nightmare. It was almost more of a challenge getting there for COVID than getting there like physically and performance wise.
Yeah. So before we delve too much into the Olympic side of things, I wanted to go through just some origin stuff, because there is definitely someone that would feel it's a little bit remiss of me to skip out of, which is how you got into doing skeleton and things like that, because you've done taekwondo previously, rugby, all sorts of biz. Used to train with a mutual friend and coach of ours, Chris Deere, obviously. So he'd be furious if I didn't at least mention it. But it was kind of a mixture of Chris among. It was a questionnaire that you did, right, originally?
So I've always been like a sporty kid growing up. I did rugby for like county and like taekwondo internationally, like a few like international medals and stuff, until like an injury stopped me. And then I sort of kind of got over the rugby stuff, and I was kind of in a bit of like, I'm not sure where to go. I enjoyed training in the gym, and I was starting to try and get into Olympic weightlifting, which is where Chris came into it. Yeah. And I was like, I really want to learn how to do that and try and like see where I can go with it. Started training with Chris for a couple of years, and then something called Discover Your Gold came up. This comes up every 2 years, sort of like after an Olympics.
Yeah.
And it's a talent ID process where my specific one was called Discover Your Power. That you can go down loads of different routes, like discover your speed, discover your this, that, which links to loads of different sports.
Yeah.
I went through Discover Your Power, and they run through a load of tests, like how high you can jump, how fast you can run, like how far you can jump, and also on like what bikes and how much power you can output. And those results get sent off to loads and loads of different sports, and like sprint canoeing, skeleton obviously is one of them. I think there's sprint cycling as well. And they basically look at your results, what the sports do, and go, actually, yeah, you'd be good at this. You'd also be good at, and all these different reasons. And then, so Skeleton asked me to come and do some more specific trials with them.
Yep.
Couple in Bath, where we're based now on the push track. And then we actually went to the Marines on one of them just to test your like mental strength and how much like how you work as a team, and so properly test you. And then they finally took me to Austria to actually have a go on ice, to go on the sled. So I've been trialing with them for 6 months without actually doing the sport, which is pretty nuts. And then after that 2 weeks, they asked me to join the team. That was about 5 years ago now.
Mate, that's sweet. So really, just quickly, you said your injury, it was your back, wasn't it? So was that L5. Repetitive strain from...
Yeah, it was just too much twisting from Taekwondo. Like, I tried to come back from it, and then it flared up again, and they basically just went, you're going to have to leave it at least like 3 years for the bones properly settle and stuff like that for you to come back. And then by that time I'd already gone into other sports. Yeah,
exactly.
Like a safer sport like skeleton.
Exactly. I mean, to be fair, you're basically on a medical gurney, right? So
you're nice. They don't know. Yeah, if I crash, they just pick me up.
But with like there's like loads of carryover. So with your weightlifting training with Chris, it probably had quite good carryover for what you do with your skeleton training.
I mean, I still do a lot of the stuff I did with him now, like a lot of the key. Obviously, you squat a lot. You do a lot of single leg exercises, but like a lot of it, like on my power days, a lot of it's like power snatch, power cleans, all that, like and big explosive movements, which like training with Chris obviously gave me a really good like technical foundation. So I could sort of, rather than going into the program and learning how to clean and snatch and things like that, I could literally go straight in and straight away start cleaning. And like, I got a bit stronger since then because I got a bit heavier. But I mean, that helps with 5 years of training.
Man, I remember when we left, because it was in between me and Chris leaving Halo Gym and moving to a separate gym, right, where you got into the team. So I remember you leaving, and then I don't think I saw you for maybe 6 or 8 months. And then like you came back from Bath, walked into the gym, and the first thing I was like, look at the size of you, because all you'd done is eat and train multiple times a day, because you were off season at the time, so it was just food and
I got
just power training.
I'm not a big guy, but I got pretty big pretty quickly. For me, I think I started skeleton low 70s, maybe touching 70 kilos, something like really.
You were built for Taekwondo still.
I was like speed and like light and quick. That's what I was, and then I think within 6 or 7 months I was like 81, 82 kilos, and it was literally every day I'd cook a kilo. It sounds like some like ridiculous bodybuilding thing, but this is what I did. I had like a kilo of chicken, a kilo of pasta, make a massive pasta veg thing, like and pasta baked stuff, and I'd eat that in one day. And I'd have 6 meals a day. I'd have breakfast and then 6 meals a day. I got so strong and so much like heavier so quickly, but I don't think I've gone below 82 since then. I'm like, in the summer I'm usually 86, maybe 87 if I'm had a big day.
How much nutritional support do you get? So is there someone there that goes?
Yeah, I have access to nutritionists and I have got access to pretty much anything I need, to be honest. Nutritionists, psychologists, physios, S&C, like anything.
So when you said what should I be eating, they said more.
Which is good. They went lots of protein and lots of carbs. Yeah, and just
how many times a day were you training then?
Probably pretty similar to what I do now, midsummer, like 2 to 3 at least a day. Yeah. That would be like come in, we used to do something called like P2P, like prepare to perform, but we kind of stopped that because of COVID. But you'd go in, you'd have an hour of like rolling activations. The physio and S&C would be around, so you'd have chats with them and go, oh, like, I've got a bit of a niggle, or actually, can we try, like, I'm feeling good today, or you'd have that, and then we'd go and do a sprint session.
Yep.
And go and have, so it'd be sprints, like a lot of explosive stuff, maybe chucking some pliers as well. Go and have lunch, and then do a big like gym session in the afternoon, and then maybe supplement it with like a core session later.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's got that sort of, that would be like an average sort of day.
Yeah, because there was and actually really luckily you've posted it yesterday, because I remember at the gym, sorry, the gym I work at now, underground gym where you train as well when you're back there, and subsequently Chris is at as well. And I remember being at reception, and a guy came around the corner, and he goes, there's a guy in the squat rack, and I thought, oh, he's got like 140 kilos on the bar, and I thought, that's a pretty good squat. And then he put his back leg on the bench.
Bulgarian.
And it was you doing Bulgarian split squats with like 140 on the bar. And this guy came around the corner and was just like, you're not supposed to do that. Surely you're not supposed to do that. But
you do get some funny I think my single leg stuff's a lot better than any of my double leg exercise. But
but
you get some funny looks.
You posted yesterday some step ups.
Yeah.
Which I think hopefully everyone can see these on the screen as well. But what are you doing there?
So this is so step ups we use a lot because of obviously it's like sort of getting you into running mechanics and just use like and also a lot of stability work as well. But obviously you can either go two ways and go a bit heavy and then work on a lot of strength through that range, or you can go a lot lighter and maybe add in a jump at the end. But
it's also just appreciating that there's 25, 50,
there's about
100,
on there.
120, 160, 200, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, so 200.
About that, yeah. I mean, I wasn't blowing the doors off, but it was kind of like, yeah.
I mean, pretty casual step ups for 200. And it's, I think it's just that appreciation that not many people have, that it's like to your average person, that's ludicrous.
Yeah,
and
but but at the same time, I think like when I chat to people at the gym and they see me doing that, and they're like, "What the hell are you doing? Like that's ridiculous. That's so strong."
Yeah.
But I train every single 6 days a week. Sometimes this is my job. Like literally every day is leg day. So for the last 5 years, I've been training to get faster and stronger every single day. Like, and this is my job. So that's you. To be like that strong and to do those sorts of things, you need to be training. I couldn't do that if I'd had like a normal day job or things like that.
And also, I think people have people underestimate how much consistency and determination. As you said, you did a little bit of time.
Yeah,
you did some military stuff, right? Where but that was through the GB team. That wasn't because you wanted to go into the military. No. That was like, hey, if you're going to do this, it's going to be hard and it's going to be consistent and it's going to be. You're going to get hammered.
Yeah, it is tough. My first year was really tough, getting into learning how to train that hard and that often.
Yeah,
it is tough when you first. It's like a baptism of fire. I was sleeping. I was like having 2-3 hour naps in the middle of the day, and still being absolutely dead by the evening. Like it hits you like a brick wall when you first start training. Obviously, I'm a lot more used to that now, and I'm fine after a day of training, 2-3 sessions a day. But it took like a good for that full first year, maybe even into the second year as well, to sort of your body to get used to that volume of training. And it's tough, but it's also like it's built a pretty good foundation that I can just jump into pretty high volume training whenever and not break me.
What is that? So obviously that sort of training regime, you're up and down from Bath. You know, you've got Alex, obviously you've been with her for what, a couple of years, few years?
Oh god, 7 this year, a long time.
7 years?
Yeah, so I was with her before I started Skeleton.
Jeez, it's been ages. It doesn't seem that long ago that you started Skeleton, right? But what's that do in regards to, you know, keeping a relationship and?
Yeah, I think you kind of have to there's no set way of doing it with that, especially like not only with Alex, but with all of your mates and stuff like that. It's kind of like I don't get to see them as much as I'd like to. I don't get to like, especially over winter. I'm hardly home. Like this year, I had to get dropped off at Luton on Christmas Day, so like to go and race the next week. It is tough, but I think me and Alex have got it pretty set where we've got a good routine. We're starting to, we know how to make the most of it. Actually, COVID's been pretty good because a lot of companies allow you to work from home a lot more now. Yeah. So that's helped a lot. But I think she's going to be moving down soon. But I mean, it's been 5 years of me going away and doing it. So you learn how to work as like individuals, but it's that side of stuff isn't easy. Yeah. I find racing, training every day, and so that's the easy part for me. It's the being away for 8 weeks at a time and racing and going from living out a suitcase because you're going week to week to week, like racing. That bit for me is harder. It's time, right? Than anything else to do with like training. Training's the easy bit for me.
But I enjoy she's been super supportive and stuff. I mean, so
it's quite cliche, but I literally couldn't do what I do without the support that she gives me. Like, in terms of like when you come home and some days you're absolutely dead from training, and like she's always there to make sure you're okay, like I'm eating well, and like other stuff like admin stuff when I'm away and I'm traveling here, there and everywhere. Like if I need stuff doing at home, she's always there to help. And it's obviously like over time I'll obviously have to pay her back for all this stuff, but it's a very almost like one-sided thing because you can't do this without support from not only Alex but like family, friends. Like I earn bugger all money doing this sport, so
you've actually you've actually segued perfect because literally next on the list. I mean, and that's the thing, right? It's not just trying to pay people back personally for the time that they've given to you, which obviously as you've just said, you're super appreciative of, and you'll do your best to pay that back in turn, but the financial cost of being an Olympian, which is something it's always pissed me off about the Olympics, is you're going to represent your country, and yet you have to be sort of one of the lucky ones if you happen to get picked up by a sponsor or things like that. But otherwise, in regards to actual financial return for Olympians, it's super tough, man.
It is. It's really tough, and you get. So I get something called an APA. It's Athlete Performance Award. So you base it. It's sort of a wage, but it's not like living in a place like Bath, and it's not like amazing for you to be on the top levels. The top one's about 28k, which isn't like it's not, and it's tax free as well, which makes it even better. But you have to win Olympic medals or World Champs medals to get that. B is like low 20s and stuff, and it goes down. But to live off it is quite tough because it's not only that. Like, yes, okay, I could be on 28k, great, that's amazing, that's low. But the next year, if I have a rubbish year racing, I could be on 12, 15. Yeah, like the consistency of that is really tough. But when you're first starting and you're not racing and you're getting, I basically had gotten nothing for the first 2-3 years of my career. I think I got something that got given like $5,000 for 3 years.
It's an enormous personal investment.
Massive, and I couldn't do it without like my family support, which kind of makes me a bit. Like, I'm so lucky the fact that my parents can support me and doing this, but I know there's people that couldn't do it. Because their parents just couldn't support them, and I find that so unfair. And it's like the fact that I can go and race and compete full time and do all this because my parents can afford to fund me basically and sponsor me is like, and other people can't do that. It kind of makes me a bit like I don't feel comfortable with that. It's not it doesn't make sense that can still happen. Obviously you go out and search for sponsorships and stuff like that. I mean, it's so hard to get sponsorship, especially now at the moment with COVID and like everything like that. So,
well, I remember for a little bit you popped into Bentley, didn't you?
Yes, they
Early
were
on,
actually
I
really
remember,
good to me.
it was,
They were really good to me. They would give me like a car on the weekend and stuff like that. That was amazing. That was so good.
That was literally you just decided to
I
shoot
was
your
like,
shot, right?
Yeah, I was like, well, what they're going to say? No, I already don't have a Bentley, so
yeah, exactly.
And then the guy was actually so nice in there. He doesn't work there anymore, but he used to be there. John Lovell was his name. He's doesn't work there anymore, but he sort of set that up, and it was so good. It was like amazing, and gave me a taste for stuff in the future. But I mean, I finished. I mean,
28k a year is not going to get you there.
No, even tax free. So
yeah, exactly.
But like, so I'm looking for sponsorship at the moment. I'm trying to get like with decent companies, and I've got an agent who's helping me with that. But it's like, to put it into perspective, like I'm regularly top 10 in the world. Like, I've won World Cup medals. I'm GB's highest ranked slider and in the sport that's been the most successful. Obviously, we didn't have that good of games, but in the sport that's been the most successful Winter Olympic sport for GB, pretty much ever. Yeah, like we've won a medal in every single games that Skeleton's been in there. So we're very successful at what we do, and at the moment, I'm the highest ranked in that sport in the country. And I can hardly get sponsorship. It's so tough to try and get that. So not only you almost have to rely on that APA.
Well, I think
funding. Luckily,
and it's funny. I think people sort of get like a little bit of like delusions of grandeur when it comes to if you're an Olympic athlete, you just get sponsorship.
It's not like football.
Look at Usain Bolt, and you're like, man, absolute anomaly. Yeah. And that's one person in one sport. Like there's other prominent people in sprinting sports that get nothing. And then
who are some of the best in the world. Yeah, and even because
was it GB Skeleton got pretty good funding off national lottery and stuff like that. But even then,
that's what I was gonna say. So luckily with that, we have to obviously fund ourselves when we're in the UK and all like stuff like housing and stuff like that. We have to fund that. But actually, luckily, we don't pay for example, I don't pay for my sled. I don't pay for my runners. I don't pay for suits. I have to pay for my helmet. So because that's mine, and then but like the stuff like that, I don't.
And like mouth guards and stuff.
Yeah, or like and hotels and stuff. Like when I'm away, I don't pay for. So anything to do with when I'm away and racing, I don't pay for, which is massive help. Yeah. So, but it also like coming back and trying to live a normal life back at home. That's tough still. Yeah. But I'm lucky enough that like I can get supported doing that, and it just doesn't make sense in my head that people can't do the sport because of money.
Oh, it's tough, man. But that's so with the meat and potatoes of it. Then Beijing. When what do you do in regards to like mental health prep, like your psychological preparation? Obviously, you do track walks.
Yeah. So
what's it like walking down an ice chute, or is there a path beside it, or is it?
Well, so. I sort of break it into two. So the psychology and get yourself prepped. Like we obviously, like I say, I work a lot. I actually do a lot of work with the psychologists and the team, working with, like how like mentally like aroused you get at the block, and like how hyped you get, and how can I manage that, and my feelings on the sled, and building up to the race, and what's my processes. So, for example, I was chatting at the Olympics. Once I'd figured out what my warm up was going to be, I had like to the minute. Okay, 9:27. You need to be coming down from the warm up area to get your suit on. 9:35. You need to be doing PAP stuff. You need to be doing your last bit of your warm up. You need to be suit on by like 9:38. Walk to the door at 9:40. You get caught like suit off at like it's every minute on the minute. It's all planned out. Yeah. So all of that stuff's like people don't see. So that's so much stuff that's off the track as well. That's just getting you to the block, but. So you walking down the track, we do a lot of that. You go down, you have a look at the corners, feel them, make sure like you get a good visualization of what they're like. We have like special shoe, like the stuff that goes over your shoes, like almost like crampons sort of type things. But you walk down actually the ice track, which I slide on, with like down the track and down, all the corners, and it's just a bit of a bitch to walk back all the way up.
But they're pretty steep, right?
Yeah, some of them are really long as well. Like Beijing was probably one of the longest tracks in the world. I think someone said it might be, but I've don't want to like spread fake stuff, but yeah, it might be. It's really long, Beijing. So
yeah,
it's really like it's cool that we actually get to walk on the track as well.
Yeah. Oh man, and there was So we already spoke before the podcast, but just to catch everyone up as well, there was a Chrysler corner, which is like a loop.
Yeah. It's basically a 360.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Beijing had a big one.
Massive. You could like, for us, that was like, although it looks really cool on TV and stuff, it's actually quite a boring corner for us.
Is it just
the exit's really crucial in terms of getting speed and like not hitting the wall on the way out, but there's like, we described it, me and Marcus, the other GB athlete, we were saying like, yeah, you go into it and you can almost read a book. Okay, there we go. Okay, last pressure in the corner, let's go up and now let's do some work. But yeah, it's quite not that. The setup of it is 9 out of 10 of it.
So it's more for the spectator than the athlete.
Yeah.
Then
it's like, so some chrysals are a lot tighter and smaller, which I think actually makes it harder because because it's so big. It's like the pressure isn't that much in the corner because it's so open. You go around, it's like quite smooth, and it's just like manipulating it at the end. Whereas some, you're literally waving up and down and trying to like manage that because you're going so fast for how small the circle is. It's like if you had like a rock on a piece of string. If you're going like that, it goes up and down. That's basically what happens to us. And if you try and do the same speed, like the same input and intensity, but make it smaller, it spins so much faster. So it's like everything is just exaggerated when it's smaller. Yeah. So having such a big chrysal like that is, it's not
because on a tight one, there's probably is there a calculable amount of G-force that you go through throughout some corners and stuff? Is there a number on that you've got?
5 to 6. That's in some corners.
Pretty high.
Not in every corner, but in some corners you hit up to 5G, like fighter pilot sort of stuff. Yeah,
exactly.
And you're on the ice.
I saw something that's like 5 centimeters away from the ice, right?
In those corners, your head is on the ice.
On the ice,
it's stretching.
Because you're not. Yeah.
You can't hold that up. Yeah. it's some corners you go and it's so abrupt. It's like getting like punched and like it's bang.
Well, 5Gs is like. That's like on every square inch of your body, right? There's 5 of you, so it'd be like having 5 of you sat on the back of your head,
trying to hold up 5 times your head weight going around the corner. It's like and
your
not only
on the
whilst you've got that, you're trying to like actually feel where the pressures are and steer whilst your face is getting pummeled into
which would also steer the sled to a certain extent. Right? So
it's harder to steer when there's more pressure. You get more compressed into the corner. It's harder to steer and move the sled.
Yeah. Because didn't you? Because at one point I think I had a conversation. You bit through a mouth guard, didn't you?
Yeah.
Which anyone who's had a mouth guard, they're not exactly designed to bite through.
But it's because you get like slammed into the floor and it's kind of like an abrupt. Yeah, I bit through one of the. But I use quite thin ones though. It's not like a proper. I use a bit of a thin one, but still,
but they're still not exactly designed to be bitten through. And that's the thing. I think when you watch something like Skeleton, people go, "What you just slide."
You look like you lie down. Yeah,
it's like I take the kids out.
Yeah,
they slide down snowy stuff all the time. You just slide down the tube, and you're like, not quite.
It's because people, you don't see it. You don't see people learning in the lower down levels. The only thing that normal people see is like the Olympics or World Cups. Where they're like, I'm racing the best in the world.
Yeah,
like we are the top of the sport. So we're like, it's gonna look like we're doing nothing. But if you go down and look down, I've got some like pretty horrendous crash videos and stuff from not only me, I've had 1 or 2, but it's like other people that are getting knocked out, thrown out, broken bones. And you don't realise how tough the sport is until I didn't until I started learning. I'm like, what the hell is going on here? You have no control.
Yeah, because if you mess up a corner and you high side out of the tube or something, it's bad news bears, mate. You're
One of there's a Swiss girl who crashed in the test event in Beijing. She like smashed up her shoulder and knocked out and was like on her face like into the next corner off her sled at the Beijing track in October. So
because how quick are you going on there?
So Beijing isn't the fastest. I think people are hitting like high 120s.
Yeah.
One of them was hitting 130s. But in some tracks like Maritz was the last World Cup of the year, and I was hitting 138.5 kilometers an hour. Like it's some tracks in Whistler. I haven't been there yet.
Which that was the one you won, right?
No, I won in Eagles, which
right.
But the one in Whistler, you can hit like mid 140s.
Nope.
Yeah, which is like touching 90 plus miles an hour.
Yeah. So let's go through. So Olympics, not what you wanted,
No.
but you still got to the Olympics, which is the main takeaway. And I think in one of the interviews you said it's it's lit fire under your ass, right?
Yeah,
it's all up from here. But let's go through sort of your position and what happened and
So I went into the games with a lot of confidence. I had, because of what the program had done before, we're very successful at performing at the games. I had a lot of confidence that everyone would be on their A game, and I would be pushing my best and sliding my best, but I'd be on the best equipment.
Yeah.
I'd won World Cup like a couple of weeks before. I'd be annoyed if I wasn't in top 6 plus a race, which was most of the time I'm annoyed after a race. But like top 10s, top 7s, like it's like around that. So I was like, okay, at the games, I'm gonna jump. I'm gonna get there, and I had full confidence. I'd beaten everyone that was there. I knew what was coming, and then we went there, and I struggled with a few corners in training. Just couldn't quite get it, and I struggled a little bit in the race, but basically I finished 15th.
Yeah, but no super significant from what I saw.
Oh no, I mean
from a complete couch, from a an armchair expert. Everyone watches the high board diving and goes, "That was a shit dive." So it's like, but no, like noticeably significant mistakes. You won't bounce. I saw people, you see a bounce off a wall, and you can pretty safely assume you don't want to do that.
Yeah.
But there didn't seem to be super significant mistakes.
So there was like 1 or 2 mistakes, which I could put. I'm quite harsh on my own runs because I'm quite a perfectionist. But like 1 or 2 mistakes going down. I'm like by no means saying I was perfect. There was mistakes in there, but I could probably say the only person who didn't make mistakes going down was the bloke who won.
Yeah.
So, and the guy who came second, third, and like everyone made mistakes. So I don't feel like my performance could be put down to me. Where I finished, I pushed pretty well as well. I think I was second. On bar one,
I was going to say, because I
was second fastest pusher on every single push I did, bar the first one. But that's another reason why. But there was a lot of things that I did right, and we should have been higher. I think I would have been disappointed with anything less than a goal, but like I should have been maybe close to the top 6, top 8. In terms of what I think we could have been capable of, but it was a bit of a frustrating one. But like you said, I made it to the game, so nobody can take that away.
Oh man, yeah.
And I'm an Olympian. Like what the hell?
Yeah, exactly. And even in 15th, right? It's one of those things where you're like, yeah, but you're 15th out of everyone in the world.
Yeah.
That's pretty good. That's not where you want to be, which is fine, but you're in the Olympics. You had to beat some people out to get to that point to be better than. And
I suppose. Yeah, I know what you mean, but at the same time, I think there's like so competitive that like although 15th, if you took a step back, 15th in the world, it's great. It's like a good achievement, but I know I could have done better. Even on a bad day, I could have done better. 100%. I think my worst finish on a World Cup race is 13th.
Yeah.
And I finished 15th at the game.
Yeah.
So it's
which is funny because the other thing is quite often people go, "Oh, the Olympics is sort of the most competitive in the world," but it's not. Often the World Cup stuff and the World Championship stuff is uber competitive as well, right? You won that.
I mean, people were fighting to qualify this year. Like, it's because of last year qualification stuff didn't. So normally you qualify over 2 years.
Yeah.
And mainly on the Olympic year, but you can take stuff from the year before, and like there's certain rules that were. But basically everything came down to this year. So everyone was super competitive and trying to perform the best and almost show what they've got and stuff. But yeah, I won one of the World Cups in Austria, which I was pretty happy with.
Nice, man. But yeah, so one of the questions I had via social media, I won't say who it was, but we can ascertain what sex it was from. What's it like getting in/out of the suit?
So, yeah, the Olympic suits, we wear a bit of a special one. It's just obviously saved for the games, and we bring out our best equipment for the games. It's tight. We have it goes all the way down to your ball of your foot.
Yeah.
And comes up, and obviously getting into it is like pretty tight. But I have, it's so specifically like bespoke made to me. I have like a guy who, one of the technical like support guys.
Yeah.
He's there helping me put my suit on and making sure it's in the right position and like tight in the right places, but not too tight in the other places. And
that's not the suit now?
That's not the, so it'd probably be like
at the top. There we go. We'll bring that one up.
Yeah.
So it's just tight all the way through.
It's tight and it's aero, and it's tough getting in and out of it.
Yeah.
But it's I don't really know. I'm so used to putting like the suits on week in, week out racing.
Yeah.
That it's not too bad. But I think if someone else were to put a suit on, you think you'd be surprised that this is so tight and
compressing
pulling on my neck and pulling like here, like it's not, and it's also not the most flattering thing as well, especially in like -20 conditions.
Well, I would say the person that asked the question begs to differ.
Yeah.
But so in regards to, so you've got your suit on, you're at the top of the track. What do you do while you're sliding? Are you just called it sort of hold your breath, keep your eyes open, and go, or is there something? Do you have like a message that you tell yourself before you run? Like a mantra, like a 3-step process.
So I get asked this a lot, and I kind of got a bit of a boring answer. I go. I think the best way I can describe it is I go like blinkered, like when you know the horses where they have the blink. I'm literally if you see at the block and just before I'm about to race, I've got like all I'm staring at is the front of the corner. I'm not thinking anything. I'm staring at the front of the corner, and all my focus is. I don't know, like people could be saying like, I'm an idiot or somewhere. I would have no idea what they're saying. I almost go into like a weird zone. This is something that I've worked on with like psychologists and stuff, and how I best prepare myself when I'm just calm. I'm like, I have like a feeling inside my chest where I'm like, I'm ready to go, but all of my muscles are relaxed.
Yeah.
Like, so I can, once I put my helmet on, that's it. I'm like fully in zone, put my head down, and then I don't really consciously think too much until the end.
Yeah.
It's all sort of like letting it happen and like letting your reflexes take you down. I know what I need to do in the corners. I know where I need to be. I know what I'm trying to achieve in all the corners, and my body just kind of takes me down. And it's not a conscious thought, me going down the track, because if it is, you almost need to be unconscious, because like you can respond so much quicker.
Yeah.
Whereas if I'm thinking about the corner.
Yeah.
I'm probably already going into the next corner before I realise what's happened and where I'm going into it. So you almost need to be just so like everything coming at you and just taking it as it's coming at you. Because if you're thinking about anything behind, you've missed the next corner, you've made a mistake, and you've hit like a wall, or you've crashed, or you need to be like zone on it and let it go. But I don't say anything to myself at the top or before a race or anything.
Just get an absolute feeling of readiness.
Zone, like it's like calm but ready. Yeah, sort of like that. I don't really know how else to describe it, but
it's fine.
It's like it's weird. I'm not saying anything to myself though.
Watch this, of course. Then to get a fucking delivery. God damn it! Shut up, Sam. Watch out. In. Thank you, man.
I hope it's something good.
Clothes and shoes, mostly.
Mainly. Are they for you?
Yeah. Typical. Organise a podcast, get a delivery. Yeah, man. So it's a funny thing, right? Because I did a jiu-jitsu competition like end of last year.
Yeah.
And when you say like everything just closes in, like while I'm training at the gym, when we're just rolling around, you know, we do submit each other. We do is full rolling, it's full sparring, all of that. But I'm pretty aware of, you know, because there's other people rolling on the mats around you and stuff like that. So I'm aware of other people, so I'm not accidentally swinging a leg out or about to flip someone and hit someone. But when it got to the competition, I remember sitting in the grandstands, and I've never competed in combat sports. I've never. So, although jiu-jitsu, there's no striking, but you're trying to hurt someone.
It's the same, yeah.
So, the premise is there. I remember sitting in the grandstands watching the kids and being like, oh, that's cute. They're like flipping each other and, you know, they're cuddling each other when they're finished. I'm like, that's cute. And then there's adults coming along and I'm sitting there going, what am I doing? I don't fight people. I'm like, oh, Jesus Christ, I'm going to fight someone. And then when it came to it, you know, we got out onto the mat and I faced my opponent. Yeah. And then even though I had a guy coaching me, who was like yelling out to do stuff, I just blacked out for the 5-minute round. And it was just, I won my first fight and then lost my second one. But both times it just goes...
You go into like a zone.
Man, completely unaware of what was going on.
Like an adrenaline zone. I think like... I was almost more in it on the first run of the race because it's obviously first run of the games. Like you're a bit nervous and the adrenaline's going like, but it is like it's like a trance almost. You're not thinking about what you're doing. You're just doing it, and like it's usually the right thing to do. Like you don't even have to think, and your body just does it. It's weird. I can't really probably it's hard to describe the feeling, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's like it's weird, but it's a very. I think it's like an adrenaline fueled state where you're just on autopilot.
But yeah, you become completely reactionary, right? It's just
yeah.
Because that was it was just like a devoid consciousness where you're like, oh no, I'm like what is going to happen is going to happen. And I mean, after my first fight, I thought I'd lost, and then it wasn't until we got stood up because the round had finished. And I saw that there was 2 points next to my name. Yeah. And I was like, I don't know when that happened. Yeah. And then it wasn't until I saw the video afterwards where I was like, oh, I got 2 points for that. Yeah. And then it was just nothing. The guy nearly submitted me 3 times, but more out of belligerence, I just didn't submit. Yeah. But it's one of those things where you get to the end of the race, or I got to the end of my round and stood up, and it's like you take a breath and you go, oh, I'm back in control again. Yeah. Like where.
I sort of know what you mean. Like after a run, the only thing I can think of is the mistakes I made, and I'll be thinking all my thoughts will be highlighted in those 2-3 areas, and I've almost forgotten the rest. I have no idea what I've just done in the rest of the corners. I'm like, okay, I need to work on this area, this area, this area. Sweet. And then, but the rest of it, I can't remember. Like, oh, what did you do here? No idea. And I've literally just done a run. So it's quite hard to sort of remember that, but it is a weird like little state you go in.
And then so when you've done your Olympics and things like that, there was still events on, right? So you did your 3 runs. Yeah. For better or for worse, it happened. Yeah. And then you got to watch some of the Olympics. So after we finished, I went. The girls finished the day after. Yeah. So I went up and watched the girls race, which was really good. But then I think after that we went and there was only 3 of us, me, Marcus and Brogan, went to actually the Beijing village. Yeah. And we watched snowboard big air, and then we went back to the Beijing Olympic village and then went back out to go and watch the curling. We watched the girls in one of their heat matches. Yeah. Which is quite cool now that they're Olympic champions. It's like, oh yeah, I watched them. It was quite cool, but so I did get to see a little bit, not as much as I'd like to. Yeah. In our village, there was some alpine skiing, so not that I watched any competition, but I went up on the gondolas and had a look at there. The views were stunning. It's a weird landscape around there. It's kind of like desert, but with it's like it used to be a really strong desert, like a fully full desert, but now things are starting to grow there. It's almost like little bushes here, there. Is that because China's been pissing about with the weather?
maybe. But it's a weird landscape. But it's so you could literally see for miles from where we were. It was pretty cool. But also where the alpine skiing was, there was no snow anywhere. Yeah,
it's all fake snow, isn't it? Yeah,
they all pumped the snow down the track, so it was like you'd look up at the mountains and it'd be complete sandy coloured, and then it's like this white strip coming down, white strip here, white strip there. Wild. It was really cool though to see that.
Did you speaking of the curling, actually, did you see anything about the American curling team?
No.
The men's American...
Oh, the ones with the long hair and stuff like that.
Mate, I'll bring this up on...
So it's really like, so although I was there, I didn't act, so I hardly saw any news, I hardly saw like that many other events.
Look at this absolute hero. I'll bring this up as well.
What a legend.
Matt Hamilton. What a name.
Wow.
Yeah.
That is, I mean, that's enough to intimidate you, isn't it? I like his shoes as well.
The mobility on this man.
Honestly,
yeah.
you watch it in person and it's so impressive.
Yeah.
But I was chatting to one of their physios and apparently they have really bad, like, uneven legs, especially when they're sweeping, because they've got one that's like slipper, like they've got one which has like the slippy bit underneath, and it's, they've got such big like adductors and stuff like that. They're really strong on that, like, because they have to be for stability.
Yeah. And
then one smaller leg, which
they don't swap sides, right? So
yeah, and then she was like, in some of the kit we got is quite fitted. And I think she said some people were like struggling because they had one leg that was really tight in the clothes and one that was like normal. It was like, it looked a bit weird, but like, I mean, I suppose what you get with your sport, they're so like specific to what they do. It's
super common. I think probably winter sports are probably less guilty of it, I would say. Apart from, so like skeleton is all about, like, if you had a massive muscular imbalance from left to right, you're going to be in a bit of trouble.
Yeah,
I would imagine.
But then our imbalance isn't left to right; it's up and down.
Yeah,
like my upper body's like so much less than my lower body. Yeah. It's the same with all this skeleton.
Because I mean, one of the pertinent questions for you would be, what do you bench, Matt?
I've never benched 100, so I can't say.
So this
like,
is the thing,
97 and a half's my PB, and I can't do like
Whereas you can Bulgarian split squat 150 for reps pretty comfortably.
Yeah.
And then some probably, because that was ages ago that I saw you do that anyway.
Yeah.
Whereas, I mean, the only other thing, and even things like skiing, you would think is relatively symmetrical, but then they would only rotate one way if they're going to do a trick. Snowboarding's completely asymmetrical. Things like that. So, and then, I mean... But most sports, whether it's sort of tennis or golf, or you're going to have huge symmetrical problems. But we're pretty asymmetrical by nature, and it's about what you can. Man, and it's about what you can mitigate through training.
There's like chatting to physios and stuff in all sports. They have to. Most of the work is correcting imbalances and correcting injuries from the imbalances.
Yeah.
Which is the case. Even. Although I'm pretty symmetrical left to right, if my left leg's slightly stronger than my right for some reason, then I could have like problems like here and there. So that's most of the problems you get apart from like freak injuries. But there's like it's mostly imbalances. Yeah.
So with the speaking of struggling with imbalances and turning and stuff, the anatomy of your sled, it's not exactly just sliding down a hill, because they're not, because there's differences in the runners underneath, whether you're heavy or light, right?
Yeah, and what you prefer.
Yeah.
So the runners are like people who don't know is like, I mean, which is probably most people, are basically like solid metal tubes that go from the front of the sled, come under, and then come up into the back of the sled. And it's smooth at the front, but about halfway down, you have two grooves cut out, like, and it makes almost like an ice skate at the back is probably the best way of describing it.
Yeah.
And what we do with those runners is we put like a bit of, we call it loading, or like we put like tighten them so they almost go like a bow, like a bow and arrow. So you bend them like that, so they've got a bit of pressure in them, and you balance in between. So about halfway through there, you've got a bit of the knife, what we call like the ice skate. The knife is what we call that, and the round. And you balance in between, and if I wanted to turn left, I would put my left knee in, so it would twist the sled and dig more of the left knife in, and I would put my right shoulder down, so it would lift the knife out of the ice and that one, and lean more towards just all the round. So it'd be grippy this side, loose this side, and turn like that. And I would do that, like I'd probably do 2-3 steers in the corner to try and manipulate the pressures and get around like that. But there's so much like you can change on the runners. Like I could talk to you for ages. You can change how deep the grooves are, how wide they are, and how sharp they are. Like there's so many different, and that that will change from that you would mainly change the runners for that's mainly track dependent and like condition dependent on the day.
So if you've got like a super technical track, you're going to want to be able to like dig in pretty hard and turn fast and stuff like that, right?
So,
Whereas if you've got big sweeping corners, you want to maintain
you can go a bit
speed.
looser and let it go a bit more. But you have to find a limit. Like there's no like, oh, on this track you need to be on these runners. Like me and Marcus are very similar in combined weight, like us in the sled, and the way we drive is very, very similar. But I would tend to go for a more like slightly looser runner, just because that's the way I slide, and he would go for a bit more of a grippier runner. I mean, he's beaten me in races. I've beaten him in races. There's no. It doesn't mean because I'm on a looser setup, it means I'm going to go faster. There's no. It's kind of like a dark art, isn't it? Like he might. Okay, actually, he had the grip to really push around this corner, and I didn't. So it's like kind of like a balance between it, but it's personal preference, a lot of it. That's just like one thing you can change on the sled.
And how heavy are they?
They're individual again, so
does it depend on your weight as well?
Yeah, so there's a combined weight limit of 120 kilos. That's you and the sled and all your kit. And he's a little bit heavier than me, but so he's got a lighter sled than me, but mine will be about 34, 35 kilos. But it also depends on, I prefer pushing a heavier sled. He prefers pushing a lighter sled. So he would be like, he'd have a lighter sled anyway, because that's what he prefers pushing. That's how he can get as far.
So he's not necessarily going to fill the 120. You're not necessarily going to fill the 120 combined weight.
You want to be as close to it as you can whilst being in the optimal setup.
Exactly. So I guess that even includes your body weight. So it's like, all right, it's not a bad thing to be a heavier slider or a lighter slider, but what weight can you sprint the fastest at in conjunction with what is the ideal of the sled?
So I prefer being around, my race weight's about 83 kilos. For me, I prefer pushing a heavier sled because of the way I run. Marcus would probably be, I don't know, he would be a bit like a couple of kilos heavier than me anyway, but he prefers pushing a lighter sled, so his one would be completely different to mine. But it's so individual that it's like a lot of skeleton. It's so individual.
What was it like adjusting? Because it's a weird sprint position, right? You've got you're to the side of the sled. You're in a bent position anyway, and you're running along. Yeah,
it's a weird one, but I suppose it didn't take me too long to adjust to it. But it's just odd pushing, like. The way I see it is the way my back position is, and the way I'm trying to push is if, when you're like trying to push a car, it's like that, but I'm just my hands down, so it's not too great. I'm not like ridiculously hunched, and I try not to be ridiculously hunched and bent over. It's more linear and explosive that way, and it just so happens one of your hands is down. That's sort of how I think of it. But there's like people push, so again that's another thing that's so individual. There's no you need to push like this because that makes you faster. There's certain things that really work for some people in pushing, but if I did them, I'd be so slow. But if they do the stuff that I do, they'd be so slow. So there's no one way is best. There are obviously traits and things you need to do to get fast, but in terms of the specifics and like, okay, I might do this slightly differently. It doesn't really matter as long as it works for you. Yeah,
because you swapped out your shoe as well, didn't you? Was it your first sprint?
Yeah, so we had some spikes we made that were like meant to be a bit aero, but they were like edited sprint spikes rather than push specific sprint spikes. And I pushed in one of them. I think it was 475. I didn't really like it, so I changed on the second run of competition to some normal ones, and I pushed 1100s quicker, which doesn't sound like a lot, but that is a massive. Like if I PB'd by 100th or 200th, I'll be like, yes, big gain. Like that's pretty decent. It's so like tiny margins in this sport that like I think 500ths decided 1, 2, and 3 in the World Championships last year. So 500ths over 4 runs, 4 miles of racing, like. almost 4 minutes of racing were decided over 500.
Well, I mean, hundredths of a second when you're doing 130k an hour
so
becomes a bit more significant.
Exactly.
Right?
And so pushing 1100s quicker was like, okay, there we go. That's what it is. And then after that, after I changed shoes and I got back onto what I was like, it was the second fastest pusher out of everyone at the games.
But I guess that again comes back to preference, right? Like not everyone swapped back to the other ones.
No,
some people got better at them.
Some people prefer completely different brands. Some people actually make their own spikes. Some people do that. Like, it's so.
So they're not. So the shoes and stuff aren't standardized at all. The sleds are relatively like there's some parameters that your sleds have to fit between. So total weight limits and things like that.
Rules and what materials it can be made out of and things like that. There are parameters, but you can go down so many different routes within that.
Is it kind of like when like the shark skin suits started happening in swimming?
And
things like that. So it's all the blades in running. You know, like Oscar Pistorius. Obviously pre his own controversy, but when he had double blades, he got made to run with able-bodied people because they were like, well, actually, you've got an advantage. And you're like, well, I mean, he kind of doesn't, but it's, you know,
I think a shark skin suit is sort of like the way you go around it. Or similar to like F1, where they have the set of rules and there's a bit of leniency to what the individual teams do and what they go after. And okay, we're going to go after, I don't know, aero. We're going to go after engine power. We're going to so there's so many like same with us.
They've got things with like I think that's probably the best example, right? Because you're on a medical gurney that's Formula One quality, and it's their spoilers are only allowed like a certain amount of flex. Where if someone has too much flex or too little flex, then if it gets picked up, you get in a lot of trouble. So I guess the sleds are kind of
similar.
Like that.
There's some grey bits which people try and take advantage of, and some people do it very well. But I mean, there's always going to be those grey areas in sport. And trying to like push the boundary. That's how sport progresses.
Of course.
And there's certain things where you like, for example. Everyone used to push two-handed. Everyone used to have two hands on the sled and push and run. It was only until someone decided, okay, we'll try it and see what it, and they were training with it, and then they brought it out at a competition and blew everyone away. So much faster.
And how much was a kickoff was there?
I mean, they're like, well, you have to be in contact with the sled the whole time. And then actually, it turns out, like, although it was grey and people hadn't done it, it's just, it was legal. And now it's stuck, and now everybody pushes single-handedly. So like now, then there's probably stuff like that in F1 as well. It's like some people do it, and like when they first did it, everyone's like, "What the hell are you doing?" The
initial reaction is, "You can't do that."
Well, now all the teams will do it.
Well, exactly. So it's like whoever the genius was that came up with that. The initial kickback of, "Well, you can't do it," and it's like, "Well, you could do it." And it's like just because if someone else had thought of it first. They would have done the same thing.
Exactly,
Like, and why wouldn't you? And it's kind of good, right? Because it's a way to progress the sport. So the sled technology is only ever going to get better. Even the track technology is probably going at some point going to get better.
The tracks.
Exactly.
This one's they had a roof over the whole track, so that really helps with sliding, because some tracks there's bits that are open and snow gets on the track and. Or like really frosts up really quickly and
drips, I'd imagine.
So there's loads of stuff like that, but this one was obviously brand new, so it had like a massive roof over the whole thing. You could actually walk on the roof of this track. It was so cool. I think they were trying to make it the start of a walk to the Great Wall of China. So it's going to be like a massive tourist destination down there, but it's
that's cool.
And I think they're going to try and keep so what happens normally is the tracks aren't really used after games, but because now they've got Pyeongchang and they've got this one, they've got and there's one in Japan called Nagano. They're trying to make maybe a little Asian circuit as well, so we might have to we might go back there and race, but it's such a cool, it like blows everything else out of the water, that track does. It's like China have just gone, we want the best, and they delivered it. It's amazing. Fair. They've got it's a private venture though.
That's wild, man.
Close to 100 million.
How long do you reckon it'll be before they do a loop the loop? I'm just saying. Saying they need to move forward with this stuff.
I mean, I think if someone like Red Bull or something like that got involved and took the sport, like how they did the ice skating. They race people on ice skates go around and race down the track. If they got hold of something like that for skeleton, I'd love to do something like that.
I'm on board with it, mate. I
100%.
think someone
Red
needs
Bull,
to make
if
a
you're
little.
listening,
Yeah, exactly. 100%.
I'm your man. I'll be your test pilot.
I want to see a Chrysler
Yeah.
up on its edge.
Yeah,
That's all I want. That's all I want. A super tight one.
Imagine if you, well,
Jumping gaps.
Yeah, I think that would be more. I don't think that would be too far because like if you like, there's only.
Well, there was an uphill section in the Beijing one, right, where I thought you're like, oh man, you're hitting that lip pretty quick. If it was just.
So I crashed there in training.
Did you?
Yeah. So it kind of like. You come out of a corner, there's a lot of pressure, you come down and then almost like over a crest, but you're doing like 130.
Yeah.
Well, I wasn't, but there was like people doing 130. But I came up and I kind of hit the side of the track there and it's kind of built up. So normally what would happen is I would hit the side, come down and be fine. But because I hit the side as the track dropped, I just carried on spinning. And I basically was just like, okay, little tap here, I'm on my back. Oh, shit. Like, just go around the last corner.
Did you ever watch Talladega Nights? No. Will Ferrell does a movie where he's a NASCAR driver and he hits the wall and he goes upside down and it goes in slow motion. He goes, oh, I'm upside down. That's not good.
Yeah. Basically, that's what happens to me. I'm like, oh, why am I weightless? Oh, on my back and then like across the ice and basically flipped it just before the last corner to get back on. I've stopped so far, like so low down the outrun. I didn't get to the top at all. I had to like walk it up and
it's like a walk of shame.
Oh, big time, big time. It is definitely a walk. I kept the helmet on and like, oh shit.
Once everyone's realised that you're not dead or injured, they can laugh
they're
at
like,
you.
Oh my god, is it? Oh yeah,
he's fine.
What an idiot.
Boo.
Yeah.
So what's the plan now? Like how long have you got off? Obviously you've got time off, but you're still training hard.
Yeah.
But when's the next? When are you sliding next?
I go to a place called Le Plan in France in a couple of weeks. I think 19th, 20th, just for like a week of sliding, testing a few things. But that's pretty much it for my season now. Everyone's kind of going. I have a lot of time in April off. The only reason I got time off now is because it was just after the games, a massive event. So I'm back in training on Monday and like training properly then. But yeah, I'm training now because I love it, and it's also. It's lit a fire. Like, I don't want to have the rank number 2 on my push anymore. I want to be 1 everywhere.
Exactly.
So
of course. So and that's so. Then when's your next? Like, what's the calendar like? When's your next significant competition?
So it's back to sort of World Cups from October onwards.
Okay.
Like maybe November. So it'll be every year from now until the games. We'll have a World Cup series with 8 races, and then a World Champs at the end of the year.
Yeah.
For the next 3 years, but we don't have World Champs when it's on Games year. Yeah. So it'll just be the same as like back to World Cup racing.
Where are the World Champs this year?
St. Moritz in Switzerland, which is amazing. One of the best places in the world. Like, I mean, you need to have a credit card with no limit on to go there. But stunning. It's
though,
ridiculous. Right? It's so nice. But like normally, you walk down a high street in the UK, you've got Tesco, Morrison's, Sainsbury's, and other brands are available, but but you walk down there.
Not sponsored.
Sponsor me. It's got Gucci, Prada, Rolex, like everything like that, like brands you haven't even heard of, and you
all the ones you want to be sponsored by.
Exactly.
So Gucci, Rolex.
Other brands aren't available.
Exactly. But oh man, that'd be sick. So Switzerland would be cool. And who comes out? Alex might come out.
I think
family.
Now COVID's calmed down a lot, and you don't need to have like a test to go everywhere. It's like, everything's starting to be more like cheaper to go places and fly. So I think if it wasn't for COVID, I think my dad's like ridiculously supportive. He'd like go everywhere and follow the World Cup every week, if he could. But I think Alex will come out quite a lot, and like friends will come out and support. And I mean, Alex doesn't need an excuse to come to Moritz again. She loves it. So there's people will come out and watch. I usually race on like Fridays or weekends. So it's that's what I'll be doing from now on, and training as well as that.
So if people want to find you, then
Instagram is probably the best bet. I post most regularly on there. It's at Matt Weston Skeleton. Like Matt _Weston _skeleton. I'm sort of like I'm around in Tunbridge Wells as well. If you see me in the gym, come say hi. Don't bite.
Did
that
you get?
much.
Have you had like since you've been to the Olympics? Have you had like loads of messages of people?
Yeah,
and stuff
I've
like
loads
that?
of people, like people I haven't spoken to in years and stuff like that, and
Yeah.
said, like well done. And it's quite nice to read all those, and I got messages from loads of random ones as well. Because Team GB like I got verified at the games, so like, which is really cool. I'm like buzzing with that, but because of that, you get some weird messages that go along with it as well. Some weird fans that like I don't know, request some weird things as well. That's probably best to leave it at that.
Hey man, look,
you get some, but it's the support I've had from back home has been amazing. Like I'd like bring Alex back into it again. That she had like a little party with all like close family and friends to watch my second day of racing, and it looks so good. I was almost jealous I wasn't there because they're all in like some of my kit and things like that and having a great time.
On the note of messages, I still get messages on like birthdays and stuff from people on Facebook from when I did Ninja Warrior.
Oh really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Man, there's like and it'll be the same for like the Olympics, right? So Ninja Warrior has a weird cult following.
Yeah.
There was when I actually competed in Manchester for Ninja Warrior. So my wife came down. My son was quite young. He was pretty young. I think he was only 3-4 months old. Jeez. So he was a baby, right? And when we were leaving and packing up, getting ready to go, there was people coming up. Oh, can I get a photo? I was like, yeah, of course you can. So I gave my son to my wife, and this person goes, oh no, you two get in it too. And my wife's quite a private person. She's like, no. And he goes, oh, get the baby in it. I was like, no. And I got FaceTimed at 5 o'clock in the morning with some heavy breathing off a dude, and it was, man, just some wild stuff. So
really,
I assume the Olympics is probably that and then some.
Yeah, a little bit. Like, because I like on my message requests, I don't always see them all, but some of them you just get set. You don't get sent any writing, just like a photo or a video, or something like that. Yeah. And some of them, I'm like, okay, you're just a bit weird. Some of them, like, okay, like, right, okay, you're getting straight in the bin.
Yeah, exactly.
But it's but also some people I get messages off like I've never spoken to before, and they're like, oh, you guys did so well, like. Yeah, the equipment wasn't set up like perfectly for how we went to the race, but they're like, oh, you did so well, like, shame about the equipment, but yeah, you tried, like, it's so good that you're at the games. Some people I've never met, and it's just really nice seeing those messages as well, like, although you do get some weird ones, they do get some nice ones as well. Oh man, overwhelmingly positive, right? And then it's like, here's a picture of my feet. Yeah, like, okay, cool. Probably, I wouldn't mind feet so much, but some of the stuff I do get sent is like, So you heard it here first. Matt's okay with pictures of feet. I was going to do that. I'm not. Yeah, exactly. But, man, sweet. So, well, first of all, thanks for coming. What I was going to do, because my podcast is sponsored by Strong Gamers. And it was funny, because Rob was like, oh, man, we'll do like a package up, and we'll get Matt some stuff. And I was like, I will not be responsible for giving any consumables to Matt. The amount of times you got an Olympian that goes like pop for something and things like that. It's like everything's got to be informed sports and it's constant testing and it's it makes everything so expensive. Any protein or anything is so much more expensive. But that's why the only thing I was willing to give you today was coffee, water, and I was like, I'm boiling the water first. I'm not. There's no way I'm going to be responsible for anything. It's like dodging bombs. Sometimes you're like, people give you stuff, and they're like, oh yeah, do you want to try this? And you're like, it's a protein ball, and you're like, you got because you can't, because it'll be something completely like innocuous. 99% of the time, it's going to be absolutely fine, but it's just that 1% of the time you take something or you have something that you. Like people are, like some meat can be tainted as well. Like there's risks. To be fair, there's risks with everything like you have, but it's just mitigating those. It wasn't going to be on my fucking watch. I was like, no way. Thanks for that. Though. Yeah, I was like, I can get you a bottle. That's what you can have, an empty bottle. I'd take one of those. But man, so thank you for coming. Obviously, oh man, my pleasure. And this will go up on YouTube. Obviously, subscribe to us. If you do want anything from Strong Gamers, he's just given us a discount code, which is JUKE10, so JUKE10.
But yeah, otherwise, man, thank you very much.
Thanks, mate.
And
Thanks for
good luck
having
with
me.
the rest of your training.
Thank you.
All right, ladies and gentlemen. So obviously just finished with Matt. Super stoked to have him on podcast. Really appreciate him coming on. And I hope you guys enjoyed it. Obviously apologise for the interruption in the middle, or if you could hear Sanko here snoring or licking his nose or doing all sorts of stuff. But that being said, but yeah, subscribe to the podcast, guys, and don't forget to use JUKE 10 if you go and get your supplements from Strong Gamers. So thank you again to those. So that's JUKE 10, and thanks again to Matt. Congratulations on your Olympic appearance, and we look forward to seeing where you can go from here. All right, guys, have a good one. See you later.